Welcome back to Combined by Alanna. In this episode, I'm interviewing Erika Polsinelli. Erika is a meditation and kundalini expert, and she has her own meditation platform called Evolved by Erika, which is also the name of her podcast. Like generally attracts like, and that's totally the case with Erika. She's a friend and someone I totally relate and look up to as an expert in a field that I'm super passionate about. In this episode, we discuss her practice and lifestyle, how she became the meditation expert that she is today, and how her practice has affected all other areas of her life. And if you're a patron of Combined by Alanna, which you should be, you'll also get a quick guided meditation led by Erika for releasing stress. So without further ado, here's my interview with Erika Polsinelli. Erika, welcome to Combined by Alanna.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. You're, a go-to, just like, especially in this big wellness space. Like, the reason why I'll just start out with, I'm so drawn to you in general, is that you are doing such a real thing to better yourself, and that's meditation, which is something I connect to. And you're just being a meditation expert is so interesting to me and fascinating, and that's something that has touched my life in such a deep way, is meditation. So I really just thank you for coming on, and I think everyone's going to learn so much from you. I think you're such a bright light, and I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So I guess just starting off, you weren't always a meditation. You weren't always a meditation expert. You were an elementary school teacher. Yeah. Were you meditating then?
So I started meditating in 2017. Mm-hmm. A few years after I moved in with my now husband, I realized how much anxiety I was really living with. Okay. And that's why I was guided to meditation. I always say it found me. And at the time, I was an elementary school teacher. And I slowly started with 3 to 5 minutes each morning. I swear by that. And yeah, I would meditate before I would go to school. And before that, I had no morning practice at all. The days where we had no morning practice, we would just get up and go. Sometimes I would work out before school. But I wasn't always someone who meditated, but I desperately needed it. And I'm so grateful it found me at a time where I really, really, really needed it. And it supported me so much.
I know, I can imagine, because I'm just thinking, in that job especially, meditating sounds absolutely necessary because it gives you so much energy and grounds you. And especially, kids are, random, their emotions are random and you never know what to expect. So that's something, meditation kind of at least the way I see it, sets the playing field and levels everything and just really, it gives you that energy basically.
It really does. And I didn't do it for that reason. I was doing it to really heal my own anxiety and calm my nervous system. I was 26, 27 years old when I found the practice. And every doctor I would go to, they would just look at me and say, you have anxiety and you need to see someone for help. And I was like, I know, but I wasn't ready for help. But I knew, and I knew what I was living with. And I just started to become so much more aware of it. And I was really at this fork in the road. I actually became plant-based around this time that I found meditation. Becoming plant-based at the time, it changed me so much. It opened me up. I felt so different. I kept saying, I also moved to the beach. There were a lot of things that happened around the same time. And it's all serendipitous. Where I went plant-based, I lived right by the ocean. And I would go for these walks and look at the sky and just be like, there's something more than this. And there's something greater I could tap into. And I heard the voice in my mind, you need to start meditating. And I was like, meditate? What? How am I going to do that? I didn't know the first thing. Did not know how to meditate. So I started journaling, and then eventually I found the practice that I practice and teach now, and my whole life transformed. And first, I noticed my nervous system. I felt at ease. I felt calmness and peace that I never felt before in my life. And at the time, I was doing Soul Cycle and high intensity cardio. Yeah. And I remember being in this one class, and the instructor was like, "What's one thing you want today? Anything in the world, what do you want?" And I like screamed, like she had us all scream it out, and you couldn't hear anything because everyone was screaming at the same time. And I asked for calmness. Like I just wanted to feel what calmness felt like at this time in my life. And after practicing 3 to 5 minutes my first time, it felt euphoric. I felt such a release. And little by little, I started to realize that it wasn't just impacting me. It was impacting my students at school. It was impacting how I saw my job and my role as a teacher. And it's exactly true what you said. Like the energy that I would bring into the classroom, that would be mirrored by 25 young children who have so much energy. Yeah. And when I started to practice, it did ripple out into my personal life, my relationships, and then my job as well.
No, totally. I mean, I always say, and I'm sure you would agree with this, like the energy you give yourself is the energy you put back out into the universe. And so, like, meditating for me, that was step one. And it sounds like this is similar for you. Then, like, step two, like you at plant-based, I started food combining. And those are, for me, those are the two things that changed my life forever. And like those are the two things that made me more self-aware and increased my introspection. Yes. And really made me get real and kind of cut out like the BS and stuff. And things I realize how much I don't need and how simple things can be. Yeah. So I guess what besides, you get energy from meditation, what else, is there anything else is it the plant-based eating, or was there anything else that gave you energy as well?
Yeah, the plant-based actually became before the meditation. And I really believe that if I hadn't been plant-based at that time in my life, I don't know how long it would have taken me to be on the frequency of I can meditate. Yeah. I'm open, or it came in my orbit because everything's a frequency. Yeah. And at the time I was eating all of these like raw vegetables and all this prana, all this life force energy. My body was filled with literally more light, and I had more space, and I had this deeper connection to the earth and to everything that is of just a higher power, a higher frequency. So first it was a plant-based, and then it was the meditation. And movement is always something that's been important to me, finding a way to move my body to ground myself, because I do run high energy. Yeah. So finding ways to move. I love walking on the boardwalk near the ocean. I love doing Pilates. I love sculpt classes now, like a lot of grounding things for my body. But yeah, everything that we consume holds a frequency. So whether it's we're eating it or we're listening to it. Something else that gave me a ton of energy was either spiritual books, self-development books, or podcasts, just consuming all of this high frequency content, I guess we can call it, that I was guided to, really helped in the journey as well.
I have so many questions now because I'm like, okay, like first I want to know, I guess, what made you become plant-based? Because you're Italian, that like typically you think like the meats. Yeah, the meats. So what made you decide, okay, I need to be plant-based?
So at the time I was dealing with very intense, debilitating health anxiety. I was very anxious. I would diagnose myself with like something every day, maybe more than one thing in one day. Every day I had a new thing. And I started to realize like how ridiculous it was. Like when you're in it, it feels so real. But when you become a little bit more aware and the self-awareness opens, you start to hear yourself and observe yourself. And you're like, okay, something's wrong here. And you need to find the help that you need. So I actually worked with someone who healed himself in the most wild ways by going plant-based. And it was during that big plant-based movement. I feel like it was actually at the beginning of it, and then like while I was really deep in it, there was that huge wave, all the documentaries and all of the content that came out around it. So I was kind of like, well, if this could heal people, maybe it could bring me to a higher state of health where I don't have to worry about my health anymore because I know I'm taking care of it in this way.
Yeah.
And that's really what drove me to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. So I guess then too, in a world of like, so much information, because that's what, especially our world, right? It's like so much information, and people, you're luckily like your go-to resource for, I think, for people who, are looking for healing and know that there's something bigger and better and greater than medication or something that can cure anxiety and just calm you down regardless, even if it's not medication, just people who just need to be calmed down and grounded. In a world where there's just so much out there, how do you know which information to gravitate to?
So I really believe, and this is what I've learned being in my 30s, there's a time and a place for anything, and it really depends on whatever it is you need in this moment. Sometimes there is time for specific interventions, and then other times we could use something like meditation that could really help us. And we are living in the age of information. There's so much information. It's overwhelming. And what I really believe is our meditation practice can help us enhance our intuition. It helps us to learn about ourselves and our system. It helps us to become listeners rather than just doers and goers. We're able to slow down and listen. And with a meditation practice, it has helped me to know what I need and when I need it. And things in my life have shifted a lot since the beginning of my journey because of that listening. And it's that slowing down, it's a listening in, it's using your intuition, strengthening your intuition so you really know what it is you need, not what an influencer you follow is using or doing, not what one blog post said, but really what works in your body. And it takes time to develop that muscle within you. But I think that's one of the greatest things meditation can bring us in the time of over-information.
I totally agree. I think it's something, you can just, it allows you to listen to that voice, it allows you just to listen to yourself, really. And that's just the bottom line for me. And it's about, listening to your gut as well, which, my whole thing, everything I do is based on gut health. But they're so interconnected.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that makes sense. I guess in like, just for example, like when I started meditating, my relationship with food changed. I had a better relationship with food because I realized, when you have high anxiety, like I did, and you did, I don't know if you experienced this, but food is the one thing I can control because anxiety, manifests itself in control, unfortunately. But once I started meditating, that my improvement with my relationship with food changed and it improved. What else improved in your life once you started meditating?
I love that you bring that up because every single relationship is impacted by our practice. And it's our relationship with food. It's our relationship with our mothers. It's our relationship with our spouses or our significant others, our siblings, our fathers, and even just a person you come in contact with at a store quickly on the street. Like everything changes. And it's because we're changing within us. And what I see happening is we are becoming less reactive. We're not responding from a place of our trauma and our hurt and our anxieties and our any self-confidence issues. We're working through them each morning as we tune in. We're piecing together parts of ourselves that may have just been in the shadow or broken off. And we're bringing all those pieces back together so that we can be full and complete on our own. And from there, how we initiate every single interaction changes, every relationship. So I've seen it all. I've seen my marriage completely change. I've seen my relationship with my parents completely shift. I've actually seen, although my mom doesn't practice, I've seen so much growth in her through my practice. And it's pretty wild, and that's where it gets a little woo-woo, but we're not just healing ourselves, especially women. We're healing a whole line of people that have come before us and the ones that will come after us. And it impacts every single person we come in contact with.
I could not agree more. You realize how much like space you have for others also. And that's what I mean about energy and energy out. Like literally, I mean, I go to like 2 or 3 grocery stores a day. Like I just do. And sometimes for fun, but like, you know, you're nicer.
Yeah.
And something, Gil, my gut health guru, says is that like, happier cells make happier people.
That's so true.
And I think that that's true through, yes, diet, but also I think meditation is so important in that as well. And like the more you give to yourself, you're just so much kinder to others. So I guess I'm also wondering too, because I get this question a lot, but I want to know from you, like, what do you say to people who are like, I don't have time to meditate, or like I can't. Basically, I can't meditate right now. What do you say to those people?
Okay, I'm going to answer those separately because I think those are 2 separate issues that a lot of people experience. The first one, I don't have time. Let's be real with ourselves. We have time for anything that we need to make time for. And it's not easy. Waking up extra early is one of the worst things in the world, but the best at the same time. I was never a morning person. I had to become one when I was teaching because that was my time. I needed to be preventative. I needed to get my practice in before I experienced any stress or anxious thoughts so that it carried me throughout the day. So I really believe that we all have time. I think we can all find 3 to 5 minutes. I think about mothers often with that question because their time is just so consumed with so much. They're doing the most. Some are working on top of being a mother, caring, or even people caring for just loved ones, not a mother, but someone just taking care of others in their lives, or the busiest people on earth who have the most demanding jobs. Like, if you're on the toilet bowl and you're going to the bathroom, you can find time to consciously connect your breath. Like, literally anywhere. Just connect to your breath. We all go to the bathroom.
Yeah, no,
we all have time to go to the
all
bathroom.
go to the bathroom.
Just breathe consciously while you're there. But I really advocate
that will help, by the way.
Yeah, yes, it will. I really advocate for finding time first thing in the morning because you're going to see the most bang for your buck there. It is preventative. So if you wait till the end of the day to practice, you're clearing all the crap that you've picked up from everybody else in your life. So you're going to need more time to meditate if you're waiting later in the day because you have to clear the outside stuff to finally get within. But when we meditate in the morning, we're just dealing with us, and then we're able to dip really into the subconscious and be able to unearth a lot of patterns or habits or behaviors that have been lingering there for so long. So if you don't have time, I really believe you could find 3 minutes before you step out of bed and just connect your breath. That's it. And then for those who say I can't meditate, I hear you.
Because of all the noise.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. We have so much temptation. Our phone, we're all so addicted to the phone. Yeah. We have so much reason to escape and so many outlets to escape with. And it's not easy. But the beautiful thing is there are so many practices out there. And if you tried one and it didn't work for you, try another one. Yeah. And keep trying until you find what works for you. Maybe in the beginning it's a walking meditation, listening to something while you walk. Maybe it's something what I practice and teach, which is very active. A lot of it, we're moving, we're shaking, we're releasing, we're using the breath to clear. And that's why I liked it the most, because I felt like I'm not the type of person to sit still and just meditate and chant Om to infinity. The practice and the moving and the shaking and the breathing helped me to become that person now. And now I could sit and chant for as long as I want. But my practice started that very active, powerful breath work to move whatever needed to move, to finally just release and relax. So there's a practice for everyone. You just have to put some time in. You got to find it. And once you do, you will be so happy.
So making the switch from being an elementary school teacher to having your own platform, what was that like? Because a lot of people are scared to make a leap into doing their thing. And especially you have your own, you have your own meditation platform. We're going to share it at the end of this episode because everyone should be part of it. But I would love to know how you made the switch. And now a brief word from our sponsor. It's me. I'm the sponsor. And I'm here to tell you all about the Combined by Alanna Patreon, which is live and ready for you to join. I'm giving you weekly meal plans to follow with recipes and grocery lists, personalized mini consults with me where you can tell me all about your gut health issues, and I will be there providing you with all the info I can without telling you that you just simply have IBS. Bonus content from all of the interviews that I'm doing. I'll also be doing a monthly Q&A, which will also be pre-recorded if you can't make it, so don't worry, you're not missing a beat. You'll also get access to the Combined by Alanna community board, where you're going to be able to share all the recipes that are working for you, maybe new recipes that you've tried that everyone else can try out, gut health tips and tricks. Those are things that I always share with my people, and now you're part of that. You'll also get early access to IRL and virtual events like cooking classes or, I don't know, the supper club that I'm planning on my roof. Not to mention 50% off my 3-day food combining challenge ebook and 30% off of all Combined by Alanna merch. By joining the Patreon, you're supporting the Combined by Alanna mission of continuing gut health education, how to really enjoy your food, and learning from all of our guests, mentors, friends, experts, because I want to share as much as I can with you. Now let's get back to the episode.
So, as I was an elementary school teacher, I always knew there was something I was meant to do. And I never knew exactly what it was, but I wanted to empower people. I wanted people to know that anything is possible with your commitment to yourself and your heart aligns, your energy aligned to whatever it is you want. Anything is possible. And that's all I knew. Like, I just wanted people to feel that from whatever it is I could offer. So when I started my meditation journey, I was like, ooh, I think I'm getting closer to my purpose. Now might be a good time to start manifesting like what my next chapter is, because I know I'm not going to be an elementary school teacher forever. I just felt that from the start. I think we're too young when we have to like decide what our career is. But let me say also, teaching taught me everything I needed to know in life and creating a business and doing everything I do today. It's teachers like should have the biggest shout outs. It's an unbelievable career and there's so much that goes into it and so much energy. But I just knew that there was something else. So I started to write down in my journal, because remember, like, I didn't know how to meditate yet. So I was just journaling and writing. So I would write down all the things I was grateful for. Then I would write down all my intentions, what I wanted. And I started to write down, I want something with movement and meditation. I know that's something that will help empower people. And I would just write movement, meditation. It was all over my journal. And finally, I found this practice of kundalini yoga meditation, which was a combination of all of that. And it didn't come together. It was just like, okay, now I started practicing this. This is making me feel amazing. Then all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, wait a minute. So actually we didn't even get there yet. So, okay, I told my husband after I saw the craziest transformations within myself from practicing just 5 minutes of this practice a day, I was like, okay, there's a teacher training. I'm going to go to it. It's 9 months long. It's really intense. I've never once been to a kundalini class in person. They're like 90 minutes long.
Really
the
quick,
classes, yes.
Before, I want to hear the rest. Before do you mind defining kundalini
Yes,
for
of
anybody
course.
who might not know what that means?
Yes. So kundalini is a practice that helps us to awaken our kundalini energy. And our kundalini energy lives within all of us. This is just one avenue, one method on how to awaken that energy. And that's the energy of higher consciousness, alignment. You might think spiritual awakening. So it has its main pillars are movement, yoga, not as traditional as like when we think of yoga, we think of like a vinyasa flow. These are more like postures paired with different types of breath work. So yoga, breath work, meditation, and mantra. So I was not practicing any of those pillars except for the breath work when I first started. And I would do 5 minutes of kundalini breath work every morning. And it was euphoric. It was freaking amazing. And I was like, this feels so good. I feel my brain starting to change. I feel my life beginning to change. I'm looking at my life. I'm looking at myself now as an observer, and I'm different. What is happening to me? And I need to learn. Like, I wanted the yummy science of this and to know what was really happening to me on a scientific level so that I could maybe share this with other people. I didn't know how, just help it. People needed to know about this. That's how I felt. So I told my husband, I'm like, listen, I'm going to this training. Mind you, if you go to a kundalini class or a kundalini center, everyone is in all white from head to toe, wearing a headpiece, sometimes like a long headpiece. Like it's very traditional, very connected to an ancient lineage. And I'm a modern girl, just like practicing this breath work every morning, being like, this is sick.
But
This
that's
is amazing.
awesome, though.
Yeah. So I told my husband, I'm like, listen, I'm going to practice with these people. And I would show him and he'd be like, what? I'm like, yeah. And I'm not going to be a yogi. I'm not going to practice. I'm not going to teach kundalini. Don't worry. I'm an elementary school teacher. I'm just going there. And I just think it's going to help me get closer to what I do want to do. And then as soon as I went there, it was the second day of training out of the 9 months. It was day 2. And I got the download. And it all came through me. I did not pay attention day 2. I just wrote and I wrote and I wrote because spirit was guiding me. And it was like, you're going to start teaching. You're going to share it online. It's going to be called Evolve. And that's it. Like everything was there for me on that paper. That second day of training.
Because you were evolving. You were like, evolve.
You know what? It was being in the frequency of the people and the practice and the space I created within my body through my diet, through the breath work. I had space to receive this massive download that came from something other than me. It wasn't like, what am I going to do? How am I going to leave my job? And sometimes it is like that, and that's fine too. This is just not how my path was. And it just whoosh came through. And I was like, okay, so that was it. I started to teach on Instagram. I would share some things on Instagram. I think my first challenge was like Memorial Day of 2018. Okay. And then 2019 of July, I was like, okay, we're going live with this. And it's going to be a platform online. People can subscribe, pay per month. For less than a yoga class in a studio, they could have access to a library of meditations. And I started with 2. And people signed up. A few people, but people signed up. And then each month it grew and it grew and it grew. And we have hundreds of meditations for everything and anything you can need. If you want to go to sleep, if you want to beat insomnia, if you want to release stress from your body, if you want to manifest money, like it never ends. And that's what fascinated me with the practice, that there are ancient teachings that are tried and true for everything and anything we could want or imagine. And they make you feel freaking good.
They do make you, the meditating makes you feel like so good. And you never regret, like people say, you never regret a workout. You never regret meditating.
So true.
It's just like, it's just, it makes you, for me, it makes me like at my most creative. I think like my best recipe ideas, my best ideas in general, work or just in life. And that's, I practice transcendental meditation, and I've been doing that for 9 years. So for me, I do sit with like a meaningless mantra for 20 minutes, but I love that, when I tell people that, again, like we talked about a bit, like, I don't have time, but what you do is so important because it's, it's not, it's less than 20 minutes. It's less than 10 minutes sometimes, but it's like something that people are able to literally do. It's accessible. It's about sitting with yourself and doing nothing. It's nothing, but it's so radical. And I think that's what's so awesome about it. And so I think that's great. And I'm obsessed with your platform and everything you're doing. You mentioned your husband, Vinny. He is the star of your content.
I know.
Which I love.
Could work so hard on 50 reels and then I just throw him in and then there it is, the star of the show.
Honestly, I love it. How did you two meet?
We met at a bar.
Really?
Yeah.
In New York or
on Long Island.
Oh,
yeah. And we were both altered.
What is that? Wait,
we're drunk.
Oh, you're drunk. Oh,
we were drunk. It was like our former life.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't change a thing about it. It was all awesome and amazing and so much fun. I could never do it again in this body or this spirit.
Understood.
But so we met at a bar and I actually, this sounds so corny, but like I saw him and that was the first time, not the first time, but a really clear time in my former life where my intuition spoke and it was like, who is that? Who is that person? You need to meet him. And there's something very special about him. Like I saw his aura, even in my drunken state, despite the clothing he was wearing, because it was really an issue.
What was he wearing?
Oh my God. He came from like a fraternity party with like camo and neon. It was terrible. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah.
Wait.
But energy speaks louder than anything else.
It does. And like sometimes you just know it's a knowing, regardless of your state or something. I think you especially, you're energetically driven regardless. And like you have to be sort of, you kind of have to be to like live a certain way or be a certain way. Like there has to be something that comes with it. Even prior to, you meeting him or something that can shift you regardless. That you just know you're like, my intuition's there. That gut feeling is there. And I'm happy you listened to it because I love seeing him in your especially the, what's it called? It was like the holistic girly, the like life, what was it? The life of wellness girlies. I think killed me.
Holistic girlies, husbands of holistic girlies.
It was husbands of holistic girlies, which killed me. I loved that because I get it. Like my dry brush is on the back of the door in the bathroom. My gua sha is out. I have my masha out. We all have like our things, like our holistic girly things.
That they're like, what is this?
Truly, my boyfriend's
what do you do
like,
with this?
is like what now? And it's like an episode of like I Love Lucy or something. And you're like, okay, even this. They're like my boyfriend could walk in here and be like, here we go again.
Exactly.
Another thing. But I guess I'm curious, how does your practice like affect his day to day, or has that affected his day to day?
I think he definitely, I know that he sees a really big difference in me.
Yeah.
And I mean, on a very 3D plane, it's like he doesn't have to deal with all of the anxiety that I held, because I would just call him and talk and go in loops with him. And he doesn't have to deal with that anymore, which is great.
Okay.
Because I'm free of that. But I think...
has he picked up on your habits?
Okay, so no. I realized that I need certain things in order to be my higher self. And just because they work for me and they're amazing for me, he might not necessarily need them. And although he's using the products with chemicals and he's not a holistic girly's ideal husband in that way, he's a very evolved soul. And he has become one of my greatest teachers, because I think when we're in a relationship, it's the biggest mirror and so much is mirrored back to us. And he's been one of my greatest teachers of healing so much within myself in addition to meditation. So although he does not know, he hasn't picked up on my practices. He knows, like, don't call me at this time in the morning. He'll talk to me after 8 a.m. when I'm done with my practice. I'll FaceTime him with our dog, but we're not talking before then because that's my time for me. And he respects what I need to do to be my best self. And I respect that what I do for myself doesn't have to be what he does for himself.
That's important because like we talked about before, like I don't like to push like my lifestyle on anybody, and like, you know, is take with it what you will, sort of a thing. And I you're the same way, clearly, you know, just even in people in your own life, like you can only do so much. And if you're, you know, for me, I guess in the morning, like I have like my hot water and lemon and a juice, and like that's what he'll have. Like, you know, but it's easy because he's here, you know.
Yeah.
And it's different, but like everyone, you know, I'm sure you've even like affected him and his moods, or maybe he brings you, like calms you in a way as well, which you said totally. You could feel him energetically.
Yeah. He also now definitely believes in manifestation, which he didn't believe in before. I had a friend come over once for a meditation session, and he was like, after we finished, he was talking with them. It was a couple that came over for a meditation session, and they were friends. So after, he was like, wait, you know about this? And he like showed them my journal and was like, anything you write in this, it's gonna come true.
I love that.
Because anything she writes in this thing, it comes true. And I was
obsessed.
Like, okay. And he'll just speak now from a place of trust with the universe, a relationship with the universe. So I guess that's something I've definitely seen him take on. Like, he believes in manifestation. He believes that anything's possible and that I can do specific things and rituals and meditations that could help activate that more, you know? So cool. Yeah. And he also loves like the Sleepy Girl mocktail. He uses moon juice.
Oh my
magnesium.
Gosh.
That's something he uses now.
Amazing.
And Shilajit from Symbiotica. I got him to start that.
Oh,
so there are little things
Shilajit?
Yeah.
That's okay. Is it the capsule or the?
No, it's the like tar almost.
You got him to do this?
Yes. Yeah, he does it every morning.
So, wait, can I ask why?
I told him, well, I had to like find some benefits that he'd be excited about. So like it boosts testosterone. It's going to make you healthier. It's going to make your brain function better because he was complaining about memory. So it really did. Like all of these things that he was saying he would love, like a boost in like more energy and his brain function, his memory. I'm like, I think this might help. So he does it every day with his coffee though. He still drinks coffee, but he has it with it. I think Shervin, the creator of Symbiotica, he says that it helps if you drink like it helps to counteract the coffee, I think, or something about the caffeine. Yeah. So it works for him. Yeah, he does both of it.
That is so funny. So I use Natural Rem's Shilajit. Gil recommended it to me.
Do you take it every day?
No. Okay. So I only take it. I have terrible cramps. I always have, like with my period, and like so I'll take it when I have, so in lieu of like Advil or whatever, I'll take Shilajit, and it helps.
Wow, that's good
in
to
like
know.
11, I timed it. 11 minutes, it worked, and it really, really, really worked.
That's really good to know. I didn't know that it had that effect as well, but I know that it's really good for like hormonal health and reproduction and all of that as well.
That's so.
And thyroid, I think it's good for. I don't know. I don't know much about this. I'm just reporting what I've heard.
No, it's no, but you're right, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So we're teaching each other. Because I had no idea it was good for brain function. Yeah. That is so fascinating. I love that he's taking that for that. If it works, especially, that's like bonus.
Right. Exactly.
I love that. Let's go back to your diet as well, the plant-based eating and everything. We talked a little offline that, like, you know, you've been trying to eat a little bit more meat. You're not sure how it makes you feel. What do you base your decisions off of? And I know, you know, you could say, well, I have a stomach ache, so I'm not going to eat that. But I guess, what is it, intuition based? How does that work for you?
Yes. So I'm like in this right now, so I could share just from my experience. Yeah. it was really hard for me to consider eating animal products after being so deep in the plant-based living and lifestyle for so long. And I just love everything about, first of all, I love vegetables. I always have my whole life. And I felt so good with doing plant-based, for living plant-based, and I saw what it brought me. It really cracked me open and led to this whole spiritual life I'm living now. So I would have moments where I'm like, will I ever eat meat again? I'm like, I can't even think about eating an animal. Like those, I do have those like very vegan-like thoughts. But I had an experience this past year where I was experiencing really bad breast pain before my period and during my period. And it was so bad that it would impact my sleep. I'd be waking up because I was in such bad pain. I'm like, this isn't normal. So I spoke to my doctor about it, and based off of a series of questions, not just that, but a series of questions he asked me, he said, I think maybe you need something nutrient-based that you're not getting. And he was like, I'm going to send you for blood work. We're going to figure it out together. In the window, before I even got the blood work, all of a sudden, my husband loves eggs. He eats them every day. He was cooking eggs, and for the first time, it smelled good to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if this smells good to me, maybe it'll taste good to me, and maybe my body needs that.
Yeah.
So I ignored it the first time. I ignored it. I probably waited 5 months to finally be like, all right, give me the egg. I started eating eggs. And with that, the breast pain went away.
Really?
Yes. I also did an energy clearing, so I can't say it's only because of that.
Yeah.
But he thought it was something nutrient-based. I was guided to eggs, and all of a sudden, I felt really good. Yeah. And I started to feel like I needed more protein. And the word protein always triggered me when I was plant-based, because everyone would always ask me, where are you getting your protein? Where are you getting your protein? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm getting all these vials done. My body is fine. I'm getting what I need. Stop asking me that. Like, it really triggered me. I'm like, enough with the freaking protein. But my body started wanting more protein. I felt it in my body. And I was like, eggs are a great alternative. I don't feel like I'm harming an animal by eating the eggs, and it's working for me right now. And then eventually from there, this is very recent and new, but over the summer, I started to crave salmon. And then from there, if I saw chicken or I was cooking it for Vinny and he was eating it, I was like, that kind of tastes good. And I've only had it twice so far, so it's not like I'm consuming so much of this, but I'm being very transparent. It's been a slow roll. And I really, going back to your question, it's really about how things smell, how things look, how things feel to my body, because I feel like my body's a technology that can communicate with me. And if it feels right, based off of all of those things, like the scent, the thought of it, the look of it, all of it. And like, okay, then playing it through, like, how would this feel in my body? Do I think this is what my body needs? Like going through this like inquiry-based process, that's where I'm moving from right now and moving through. And I think there's so much beauty in being plant-based. I freaking loved my 7 years of being fully plant-based.
Yeah.
And I think there's also beauty in trying different things and seeing if your body actually does need something. Because I think sometimes we get, even with workouts, we think we know what we need because it's what we've always done. And sometimes I think when we branch out and we try something new, we just never know how good something can feel unless we are open to trying it and doing that with our intuition, with clarity, from an aligned place. And that's what I'm trying to move with right now.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And I also think possibly, like, as you get deeper into your practice too, you're more in touch with that, and you're more in touch with what you need. Like, for me, for example, like with food combining, the deeper I went into it, when I first started food combining, I was eating meat, but I was never a big meat eater, but I ate fish. And so I was eating fish and everything, because food combining is inclusive of all food groups. It's not about, you can't eat this, you can't eat that. It's not about portion control. I eat I eat more than my boyfriend during dinner. Yeah,
like I'm with you, girl.
I eat a ton. Like but like it's funny. It's not. We're so used to being so measured. And so that's the beauty of food combining, is that it's not about measuring. So it's even back to what you said about protein and everything. Like I get that question all the time about like my meals that I'm, for my meal delivery. If people are ordering vegan, which was, I started as a vegan delivery service. Now I offer all of it because I've evolved as well. And I'm like, not everyone needs to be vegan. But when people would order vegan, and sometimes still do, they would say, how many proteins, what are the macros, what are the this, that, And the beauty of food combining, and I think you connect with this just with intuition and everything, it's very similar. Like, it's about how you feel. Yeah. And it's not about counting. It's not about, it goes back to that intuitive eating thing that, again, people don't know what that means. People roll their eyes at it. I can understand why people roll their eyes at it, because it's, you hear it and you're like, so you're telling me just to eat less? People, unless you really understand it, unless you're really in touch with yourself, you probably don't understand what that means. So with that being said, like for me, I eat plant. Now I'm vegan, but that's from a feeling. Yeah. Like full transparency. It's from because it just made me feel good. And I liked to eat pasta more than I wanted to eat fish. Yeah. So that's really where it came from. But yeah, I don't think there's any problem with eating meat. I think it's obviously finding the right source of meat, like finding, a good, clean market, or, a place that has the organic, grass-fed, etc. meat. But you should be picky about where you should be picky about where you're getting your meat. Don't worry. But I think that it's also, just if you don't feel like eating meat, don't force yourself to eat meat unless you're like bodybuilding or something. Don't count your protein unless you're trying to be a bodybuilder, which also is not sustainable. Yeah. But that's another episode. Yeah. But no, I think it's amazing that you're like, you're eating mostly plant-based, but if you feel like you need it, that's great. Yeah. I think it's amazing that you cured something that is probably hormonal, just having sore breasts. Like, that's probably hormonal in eggs and, even your own practice. Yeah. I mean, we just have to find balance in our own ways, and that's not easy to do. But that's why, like, people like us are here to help as much as we can, because it's a process, and it's a lot to go through. Yeah. So I think that's so important for people to know. And your platform is incredible. What are you most excited about right now on it?
I get really excited to share new meditations each month. I kind of pick a theme each month and share. And this month for March, we're focusing all on prana. And prana is life force energy. It comes from plants, eating, consuming all of those nutrient-dense plants that come from the earth. And it also comes through breath work. So this month we're practicing, it's hard. I call it a warrior workout and victory meditation, but it's it will humble you for sure. Yeah. It will humble you. And these exercises are like literally 3 minutes each, but paired with the breath, it's a challenge. It grounds you in your body. It leaves you feeling so good, so powerful, so refreshed. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just love sharing that. But with that, I have audio meditations. Yeah. There are long meditations. I go live each week. So there's always something happening and something new releasing. And I just get so excited to share what works for me with my community in hopes that it works and helps someone else.
And especially too, if you're meditating and you're talking about what works for you, just like you did, just like I do, then you're only spreading light to other people. And like, hopefully, I'm sure, especially with you, like just getting the word out there that you can meditate. Yeah. And like, I listened to this amazing person, and she's only giving me 3 minutes of a meditation that just changed my entire day. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so important. And I think it's the the coolest thing ever. So I really thank you for doing what you do, because it's important. And I mean, meditation changed my life, and I know it changed yours, and everybody needs it. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I'm at incal.xcal. And the app is Evolved by Erika, so you can find that on Apple, or you could go to the website. There's a 7-day free trial, but we'll do something special for your listeners. We'll give them a little something extra special.
That will be in the show notes. We will share a special link or a special code for you to try Evolve by Erika, because it's so important, and I can't wait for you all to start your practice. So with that being said, I made you a combined by Alanna meal. We've got the Brussels sprout Caesar with crunchy quinoa. Your favorite thing right now are vegetables, just like cooked vegetables. And this is the first thing I thought of. Again, intuition. So this is what I made.
I'm very excited.
It's ridiculous. You can eat it whenever. No pressure. But I put it in a... It's with like, and it's made with...
it looks so delicious.
It is so good. It's made with like a crunchy quinoa made with avocado oil, clean oils only, of course, with combined. And then Brussels sprouts that were roasted, some sunflower seeds, a tahini and nori-based Caesar dressing. And
sounds
it's
unbelievable.
Like to die for, in my opinion. But I
feel
knew
so
you'd
lucky.
love it. No, of course.
Thank you.
I beyond appreciate you. And this is,
thank
it's part of how it's how I show love too, is through food and nourishing others. So it means the world to me that you're here. So obviously I have to feed you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
Of
can't
course.
wait to try it.
Of course.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.